I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's morning musings is We Are Everything. I'm doing a series of daily morning musings, and I'm using posts from my blog, Adventures in Density and Effort. Now, I wrote these a while ago, and if I encounter anything that is out of date, I will give you the most recent information, and at the end, I will summarize the topic based on all that is going on in the world today. Also, I have some special offers, so stay tuned to the very end to see what they are. We are everything. My mother passed January 21st, and her funeral was 10 days later. Since then, one granddaughter reported her coming into her dream 2 days before she died. Another has had several incidents of birds, particularly chickadees, showing up. Her grandmother's nickname for her. One landing beside her inside an airport. My sister-in-law felt her in the kitchen the other day, in her housecoat, observing everything going on. The first glimpse I had of her was a day after she passed, while the mortician from Going Home Creations was in the living room giving us paperwork to fill out. She was standing off to one side, a tall and slender shadowy figure in her 20s, the age she was when she came to Washington, D.C., smoking a cigarette. Later on, I've mostly felt her show up looking like she did when she worked for the agency in her late 60s. I've never seen her in a house coat, although there's one upstairs in her bedroom closet. And now, when I look at the photos we took of her over the last 2 years that I've been taking care of her, I don't recognize her. That should be the person I am most familiar with, but the person I'm feeling is a good 15 years younger, before her dementia set in and macular degeneration took half her sight. The house feels empty, and yet it's not. Her essence fills all the things in it. I drive down the street and realize she's not here, and yet everything is brighter. It's as if her life force went into everything. Every cell in every living plant has her spark of life. Even though I've had these visual impressions of her, her energy wasn't fully localized, except now as I'm typing, I sense her next to me, and now she feels more like she did in the weeks just before she passed. We can summon people if we consciously think of them. They can also show up unannounced when circumstances warrant, such as on an anniversary date or a holiday. While writing this, I felt her move into my space, feeling more like when her body was shutting down, when it was so uncomfortable. She wasn't in any pain, she just had no energy. Yesterday would be 3 weeks since she went to sleep and didn't wake up, not passing until the following Monday. I had expected stronger impressions. I had expected more direct communication. Some of the reason I haven't had these things, I think, is because I was so focused on caring for her body. It was like caring for a newborn in the final 3 weeks, that it diminished my spiritual sense of her. Another reason might have been that we were so inundated with relatives. It was hard, as a sensitive, to hear her. Vibrationally, it was like a rock concert in this house. I started writing this last week, and estate activities kept me from finishing it. It's quieter now in the house. Telepathically, empathically, I still feel the family more than my mother. I do feel her. She does show up, just more diffuse than I expected. She took a long time to exit the body, however, so that explains a lot. She feels like she's been gone a lot longer. At the same time, it feels like she's never left. What I'm most aware of is that she's in everything. We walk the dogs, and everything seems brighter. I used to think that when we died, we just moved to an unseen dimension. I didn't realize the vibrational shift on what seems to me the perceptual level. I used to think that there was more of a separation between the seen and the unseen. When my friend died 10 years ago, I sensed him come and go. I sensed him connecting at time points different from my own. However, he was only 56 when he went, and he passed suddenly. Perhaps that's the difference. With my mother, I noticed a transference from form to non-form. It's only as I write this, in the dark, at 5 a.m., that I sense an aspect of her personality show up. Maybe it's too soon. But the new thing that I have learned is this. We are in everything, just more focused in our denser vibrating bodies. When we pass, we're released. Our essence expands into all of creation. Writing it down, I realize that I've intellectually known this all along. What's different now is that I feel it. When Princess Diana died many years ago, I remember sensing she'd shifted cellularly into all of creation, but I'd assumed that it was because of her status. Her personality was known worldwide. Everyone goes into everything. Physicists have known this for a while, but they're thinking in terms of atoms. Consciousness does this too. The thing to know is, we're a collective cosmic orchestra. When we die, the music doesn't stop, nor does our individual song. It just shifts to a higher octave where only dogs can hear. I almost started crying reading this. I don't read these articles before I start recording. It's interesting because we're coming into the time of year when she started to really go downhill, and she passed in January. But the other thing is, my friend who died back in 2003, 2004, something like that, he was was riding his bicycle and he was hit by a silver PT Cruiser. And yesterday, as we were driving home, there was a silver PT Cruiser passed right by. And I was like, really? Because it's very rare to see those kind of cars anymore. And it's rare to see one that is exactly the right color. That is usually a really strong hello and a validation from the other side. And I think that the other thing that's going on with me right now is that I'm dealing with some relatives that have some really life or death situations. I personally am not in their bodies. All I can do is wiggle my nose and blink my eyes and help shift into parallel universes. And when I do that, something shifts and changes that could potentially benefit their health. But yeah, they always swerve back into the other universe, which is so extremely uncomfortable. Here's the thing about that is that we all are everything. We exist on a higher level simultaneously with existing in the physical form. How long we're here, there's no good or bad. People who live a short time are not less than people who've lived a really long time. It's all a blink of an eye to the perspective of consciousness. It's this, I'm in this physical form and I plan to go on for a while. I have a new grandson and I want to see him grow up. And yet I can be in acceptance of people's choices and their actions and how long they choose to live. And when I say that from the perspective of consciousness, I am in acceptance. It's when I identify in the physical form, a body goes, no. Bodies are very attached to living. And yet, if you think about it, this is a multiverse. There are multiple parallel universes. All possibilities are existing at once. There are people who lived and people who died and people who got cured and people who are still suffering. This is a really amazing video game that doesn't just have one trajectory as you're playing with it. All the possibilities are running simultaneously. And it is the greater imagination of consciousness that can comprehend all this. So my suggestion to you is if you can shift your perspective to a higher way of looking at things, it does become a lot easier to navigate. When you're not navigating from your body and its survival instincts, it's a lot more joyful in experience. So if you have anything to say about this, please leave me a comment below. I love to read your comments. And if you like these videos, please share them with your family and your friends and on your social media. And please like or follow and subscribe. And that way you're telling the algorithm to get this out far and wide to someone who really needs to see this information. And if you'd like a free sample of one of my consciousness techniques, click on the link below to the skybox technique. It'll give you a drone's eye perspective as consciousness of everything that's going on in your life today. And if you want some manifestation techniques, click on the link below to Manifesting Money and Miracles. It's my self-study course that will teach you basic information on how to shift your ability to have and create and experience a miraculous life. And if you'd like to have a personal session with me, click on the link below to private sessions. I will take a look at you as consciousness and what's going on in your life today, and then I can answer any questions that you might have, whether it's about relationships, about your job, about what's coming up in the future, and I can also talk to your deceased loved ones, and it's all recorded just for you. And if you want to learn how to do this for yourself, that is navigate your life as consciousness with the help of some of my consciousness techniques, go to my website, joan-newcomb.com. Manifesting Money and Miracles is a great preparation for my coaching special, where I work with you one-on-one and give you specifically chosen consciousness techniques so that you can transform your life. So you can find out about that at my website, joan-newcomb.com, and I'll see you tomorrow in another Morning Musings.